This video is sponsored by True Gold Republic, the precious metals experts. Talk to one of their experts today about diversifying your portfolio to help assure your future financial security. Find their contact information in the description below and pinned in our first comment. James Kaufman, World News Report today, July 18th, 2024. God bless you and yours, no matter where you are in the world. Please subscribe, give us a thumbs up, ring that bell for critical future updates. ER trauma surgeon claims Trump rally sniper's body is missing massive blood spray, which I guess I completely agree with. Being hit by such a large caliber rifle, there should have been, pieces of the shooter everywhere. Dr. Molly James is an intensive care unit and emergency room trauma surgeon who practices in multiple states. She has extensive experience in dealing with the aftermath of gunshots and treating gunshot victims. Dr. James says the few pictures that have emerged from the rally scene don't make any sense. There should be a lot of blood, and there isn't in all the pictures, said Dr. James. Did y'all notice that the blood on the shooter's head had already dried by the time they were up there seconds later? That made no sense. Dr. James says that the picture of what the federal authorities claim is the body of Thomas Crooks on top of the American Glass Research Building in Butler, Pennsylvania, from where Crooks is allegedly have taken the shots at President Trump, is missing large blood spray behind the body that would be typical of this type of shooting. Quote, there should be a considerable amount of blood. It depends on the exact trajectory through the head and also a few other factors, but behind the body should be significant amounts of blood, brain, hair, skull fragments, even vertebrae, Dr. James says. In comparing the picture from a drone of the whole roof with the picture provided by federal authorities of the body up close, Dr. James notices several irregularities in how the blood has dried on the face so quickly, which would be impossible. And now that I think about it, that's exactly what we saw right following the shooting. Now, I can't show that picture, but I think y'all must remember the dried blood on the shooter's head directly following the shooting. Quote, blood follows gravity, so if the entry point is behind the head, it won't be going against gravity. It looks to me as though the body has been moved. Other drone footage of what federal authorities claim is the Thomas Crooks' body on the roof of the AGR building in Butler, Pennsylvania reveals some small amounts of what looks like blood, but not the significant sum that Dr. James claims should be present. The day after the shooting, the FBI was on the roof washing it all down mysteriously. Let's listen to what she has to say.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Thanks for having me.
So you've been able to look at two photos. One, a drone footage of what the federal authorities are alleging is Thomas Crooks on the top of a building right near the Butler Farm airfield, and then another up-close photo of the deceased. Could you give us your impressions of those photos?
Yeah, thank you, Ben. So obviously the drone photo is higher pixelated, it's from a distance, but the thing that's shocking on that is missing is the blood spatter pattern. So if somebody was shot, you would expect there to be blood behind the site of impact from the patient, and you would expect blood to be much wider than it looks like we see in this photo. We don't really see, this is like a hatched roof, if you will, with divots. And we don't see anything outside of the tray like in a Morrison building. We don't see anything outside of the single lane that he is in. So that to me is unusual.
Now, if he died instantly, would that matter?
So with a gunshot wound, the blood continues to pump from the heart until the heart stops. So with a gunshot wound to the head, it's usually extremely messy. The exit wound is very large, and we see blood spatter, we see brain material, bone fragments, things like that should be present at the exit site.
I can, remember myself that all we saw was some blood on the forehead and it was already dried. She's totally nailed it.
And how far would that go? How much of a mess would that be?
That would be pretty wide-ranging, and again, this was a long-distance shot, so we would expect it to go quite a ways based on the fact that, high-speed bullet, large trajectory pattern after hitting at the exit. So the entrance is always smaller, the exit is bigger, so I would expect to see that 5, 10, 15 feet, I don't know,
And there
noticeable.
were pieces of skull and brain that would be there, visible?
Yeah, so vertebrae, bone fragments should be visible in the photos, I would think.
How much blood would someone lose?
It depends exactly where the bullet hits. So looking at this photo, we can't tell the exact trajectory. We see a lot of soft tissue swelling in the face, it looks like, potentially the teeth or blood in the gums, things like that. The interesting thing is, in this photo, the gentleman is laying on his side and has over his face. So blood that follows gravity and runs down, it did not run uphill. So it's kind of interesting that he has blood on top of his face. You would think it would run down. So it makes you wonder if the body was rolled or moved in some way. I don't know when these photos were taken.
Right.
What's most interesting is the blood was dried as soon as the authorities took the picture that was supposed to be taken right after this.
And obviously, he couldn't have been moved too much because you can see blood there on the ground. Assuming that's his blood as well. There seems to be something interesting about his neck as well. Do you notice that?
Yeah, so underneath, there's a trail of blood running from under the ear up to the nose, and underneath that, there's kind of a round cutout, if you will. I don't know if that's some kind of burn or something irregular. There's definitely kind of an arch that's cut out from that does not look like blood.
We call that a mask where I'm from, right?
And you mentioned a burn. Have you seen anything like that before? What could account for that?
Usually you see that at an entrance site. I'm not suggesting that's what this is, but when you think of, the thing people forget is we think of a bullet as a sharp trajectory, but it's also spinning and has heat, so it's going to cause soft tissue damage in a rotational fashion. It's also going to cause burn through the tissue and splatter. So all of those things, so this is potentially around the exit point or something like that.
One issue that some folks on the internet have made an issue about is identification by his ear. They try to match different photos to his ear. Can you see at the bottom of his earlobe, there's kind of a cut? There's some people who think that that's a repaired a gauge, the holes that some people wear in their ears.
I'm looking at the photo now. It looks like it's a little inferior to be that. Usually that would have to be a surgical repair to repair the gauge from that round insert in the ear. Usually that's just an open thing, unless they have surgery where they go in and sew it together, in which case it would be more of a V-shape. Bringing that soft tissue together and sewing it together, it would probably be a different shape.
Okay. One last thing that comes to mind. Federal authorities are saying that they identified him based on his DNA because there was no photo ID or other identification left. Is that normal?
That seems to be a fairly rapid turnaround time for a DNA test, but I'm not familiar with that aspect of the investigation.
Okay.
We generally called them John Doe until we had visible, someone identify them visibly.
How long does a DNA test usually take?
I don't know.
Okay.
No.
Thanks. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Just, it's really hard to tell, but on the rooftop again, I've been in a number of gunshot wounds to the head. It's extremely messy. There's blood everywhere. There's bone matter, and a lot of times it doesn't make sense, until you understand the trajectory of that. And based on these photos, I don't think we have enough information to say what that trajectory may look like.
Sure. Well, there's definitely a lot more questions than answers right now, but I really appreciate you taking your time. And
So, ladies and gentlemen, the trauma gunshot surgeon said that nothing from the scene shown to us makes sense, and I completely agree. There should be so much more blood, like there was on the bleachers, for instance, with a much smaller caliber. And how is the blood on the head already dried? That's the real question. It's, bringing us deeper into this rabbit hole that we know was some sort of setup. God bless you and yours. Please share, subscribe, and always remember, anything's possible in Bizarro World.